Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I'm going to be planting some maple seeds that were given to me by Ralph at our last club meeting. He collected them when he was in Canada. Same as me, just picked them off the tree, stuck them in his pocket and found them a month later. But the real thing I want to do today is to make my Dawn Redwoods that I plan to put in a group planting this spring, make them a little more compact and maybe scrape some buds off that I'm not going to need. All right, let's get started. I still have 3 of these little aluminum pots. I have 7 seeds, so one's going to get 3 seeds and the rest are going to get 2. And I'm just going to press them down. Here are the seeds. I don't know if you can see them. I just soaked them in water. They're not sinking, so that's not a good sign, but we'll see what happens. Just going to put them a little bit under. They're on their side. Their wings have long since broken off. And I'm going to put this in a tray with a little water in it to keep them moist. This is the one where I'm going to put 3 in, so I'll do them diagonally. The soil's very dry right now. And we'll see what happens. Okay, Ralph. I think that's it on the seeds for this year. What you're looking at is one of 11 Dawn Redwoods. This one, believe it or not, has the most branching on it. I grew these from seed. I've done other videos about these in the past. Putting them in pond baskets and then doing their first pruning, structural pruning over this past summer. I put wire on ones that needed wire. My thoughts on Dawn Redwoods is that they grow in flame patterns naturally. So I'm looking to capture that in miniature. From root base to tip, this is about 17.5 inches. And this is going to be a group planting in a large oval, the largest oval I could afford. And since there's a big space here with no buds, I'm wondering where the top of this tree should be. And I'm thinking that I either turn this branch up and get an apex going, or this branch and cut it here. And I think that's what I am going to do, which would take it from 17.5 inches to approximately 10.5 or 10 inches, depending on where I cut that. All right, so that's a big step at this time of year. So I've got to be real careful about this. These are doing well in the pond baskets. I don't know if you can see the roots growing out the bottom, but I have it growing in pea gravel outside, just sitting in pea gravel under my benches, and they're doing fine there. When it gets dry, I water. But that's what I'm going to do. Let me zoom in on the area that I'm going to be working on. Because I think this is the top of this tree. Yeah. First thing I'm going to want to do is to unwind this wire. Carefully. And I guess give it a couple of turns this way, just to anchor it on this side. Now this tree probably has the most branching of all of these trees. Had a little mishap here. The end of that broke off, but I'll be trimming some of those as well. All right, time to make my cut. I am going to do it straight across, maybe on a slight angle. All right, I have some buds right there. All right, let me get some cut paste on this right away. And once again, I am using my version of rubber cement, which is something called shoe goo, which is a protectant, waterproofing sealant that has worked very well when others have failed. And when I say failed, I mean the bark starts to separate from the wood, and that's not good. So I'm sure there are others. There are purveyors of all kinds of different sealant, but I'm following someone's lead out there, Nigel Saunders, once again, with the rubber cement, and that seems to have been working out, and it seems to roll over with no problem at all. I'm sure the vapor that's coming off of this is not doing me any good, but maybe it's killing some bacteria that might want to infestate that. And I'm going to be doing this on 11 trees, 3 of which I will show you. I want to go up a little higher. I have a bud there growing in, another bud there growing out. So what I think I'm going to do is to shorten that whole thing and keep this outward facing bud. So I'm going to cut the wire here. And I'm going to remove it. I'm going to shorten this. And I'm going to rub off the bud that's going in toward the tree. Oh, it's not rubbing off so easily. I'm going to have to snip it off. I might put a smidge of shoe goo for that. I'm going to use a little palette knife so I can pinpoint where I want it. And I'm shortening some of these others as well. All right, this is a fairly believable front, if you ask me. And the lower branches are the ones that usually come up the most. So I'm gonna cut this one off here. This one has an upward or 2 upward facing buds and 1 outward facing bud. I think I'm gonna take off the one that's closest to the inside of the tree, if I can. I can certainly stunt it. I'll trim it right here. All right, cut the end of that wire off. Twirl it around first. These 2 are kind of ladder branches, but I tried to at least utilize it. I need to leave them both and decide at a later date. But this branch is too long. I'd like to make it sort of this length. So I'm looking for an opportune place. There are little buds here and here that are facing sort of up. This faces up. And one here faces up. So there's a downward facing one there that I'll take off. And there's one that comes out this way, that I'll take off. And I'm going to cut this branch right here. And trim back that wire. You must agree that the tree is a little bit more compact now, huh? All right, I'm going to trim off this, wrap this a little bit further around. And as I say, this branch got knocked off in a storm. I got hit by something in a storm that knocked it off. And these trees are healthy. I would have wanted that branch a little longer. This one is too long. This one's probably just right, but I want to look at the buds on that. So this branch is now a little too long. I have a little tiny bud right here and a little tiny bud right here. Both of those are facing up, so that's really the only place I can prune. Once again, let me re-terminate this wire. Get the branch kind of going how I want it to go. All right, so like I said, this is the tree with the most promise. A few buds I need to scrape off. Some buds right down at the intersection here. Some of those I like because I may want to choose, a different leader at some point. But these ones facing down, I'm not going to need, so I'm just going to rub those off. These on the inside, I'm not going to need. Oh dear, that's broken as well. Yeah, I thought that was alive. Nope, that broke in the storm as well. Wow, that branch may die. Wow, I didn't even see this. Yeah, that branch may die. There are no buds that far down. We'll see what happens to this branch. Could be a gin. That's tree number 1. All right, here's the second one. Not quite as developed in terms of branching as that other one. And I have to say, this has got even a lot more branching on it than some of the others that are outside. I'm just gonna have to do Hail Mary cuts on those. But it's got some buds down low that I'm not gonna use, so I'm just gonna rub those off. Now, as I get further up here, I'm not gonna rub them off because I need some more lower branching. There aren't too many options, but at this point up, there's nothing. And on this whole side, there's nothing till I get here, and here I have buds, and here I have buds. So I'm hoping I get some more branching on this. So let me zoom up on the branches. I'm gonna make quick work of this one. All right, I'm gonna hope this is gonna become my leader at some point. So I'm gonna wire this up. But in case that fails, I'm gonna cut it here, and maybe this will become my leader. And I have 2 other buds right here. So let me zoom up on that area of the tree. And this doesn't leave the tree with much. But the exercise at hand is to reduce the overall size of these trees. So this one I'm going to cut right here on a bit of an angle backwards. All right, so what else could I do but wire this up? I don't think much else. All right, let me get some wire on that and I'll come right back to you. Some buds lower down to about this point. So I'm hoping to get more branching on this, and this is a nice compact tree now for my planting. Roots coming out the bottom like the other ones. And just clean off the debris. And I have one more which I'll do on this video, and then trust me on the rest of them, they're all going to be like this. And we'll see these trees again sometime in spring when I do the actual planting. All right, this is the last one I'm going to be trimming up. This one has no buds below this point, and it has one branch below that, which isn't dead. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 buds on it, you know, coming off in weird directions. So I'm just going to leave that. I'll take off the old foliage. And for those who don't know, this species of Dawn Redwood is a deciduous conifer, meaning it loses its needles, and it's one of those really cool trees that when they start to grow back in the spring, they look just so small and miniature. So what should I do with this tree? In this instance, it has a kind of a natural leader, but this one I'm going to cut on an angle. I like where this branch comes out and how healthy it looks. I'm not going to wire anything on this tree. I am going to cut back and see what grows. But this doesn't have a lot of buds on it until way up here. So I don't think I want to cut anything on this tree, on that branch rather. I'm going to cut it down to here on an angle, and I'll probably trim this branch back, maybe this one, just the tips off of these, this one where it begins to curve around, and just let everything else be. There isn't much happening on here. There's a bud here. Like I say, these look like they're coming out at the wrong direction, but I'll leave them alone. You know, I have 11 trees for this planting, and they put out leaves like crazy. I'm hoping they put out some more branching. And of course, I'll straighten them up in the final planting. These are all done very well in the pond baskets. I wish I had smaller round pond baskets, but these are fine. They took a lot of soil. I only put the soil line. You know, you can see where I put the soil line. There's plenty of pot above it. So the roots should be pretty good and flat, or certainly good enough. I'm going to be putting these, I'm putting them in a mica tray, as my trays often are, because these are outdoor trees. These are my spherical branch cutters, and they're perfect for this operation. I'll leave it a little thick on top because I am going to bend that up in the springtime. Nice. I'll get some cut paste on there. A thin coating, but a complete coating. That's all this needs. Right to the edges. Okay, so let's do some selective trimming here. This little weak thing, I don't want to cut anything on. It may die. This spins around right from this point. I'll cut that. They are kind of all going up like I want them to. I'm going to cut this one here. Yeah. This one here. Oh, this one here. And this I'm going to just leave. I'm not going to wire this, but I am going to do it in the springtime. Let's see what grows on here. I'm just going to cut the tip off. And that's this tree. I hope you enjoyed how I reduced the size of those trees. It has been bothering me every time I look at them. I think, how am I going to get them in this planting? And I do want them to be small trees in the end. And I'm going to keep them small. This is going to be a fun landscape to work on. I'm going to enjoy showing you how I go about it. And I hope you'll join me. Thank you for keeping me company in my backyard. Okay, and just a quick epilogue. Here are all of the Dawn Redwoods back in their winter homes. Some cut down pretty severely, and some with a few branches. Trees are healthy, and they're going to sleep for their long winter's nap.